Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. I went to the dentist yesterday and I kept remembering one of my favourite movies, The Marathon Man. I don't know if you got a chance, go and have a look at the clip. It's called Is It Safe? And it is really remarkable. Dustin Hoffman, Laurence Olivier as his tormentor, dentist, torturer. And anyway, all's well. Thank you. If you haven't seen my little trailer with January Makamba, whom I'm hosting this weekend in Dar es Salaam, or who's hosting me at Mindspeak, really looking forward to that. We had a fantastic dinner actually, hosted by Bob Collymore on Saturday. Joshua was there, Mike Macharia, Isaac from CBA, Peter Kenneth, and a whole lot of good people. And I'm very much looking forward to that Mindspeak. I found him extremely interesting in what he had to say. Home Thoughts. I'm reading a book by Jack Kerouac. It's interesting because it's fixed in a particular period of American history, and it's called The Dharma Bums, when Buddha was big. But it's a beautiful book actually. Let the mind beware that though the flesh be bugged, the circumstances of existence are pretty glorious. And then Mario Vargas Llosa, memory is a snare, pure and simple. It alters, it subtly rearranges the past to fit the present. I am somewhat allergic to explanations that divide men and women into frozen categories and attribute to each sex its characteristic virtues and shortcomings. Llosa again. Political Reflections. Bloomberg has an article, Modi touring the Indian Ocean to keep China's submarines at bay. Prime Minister Narendra Modi begins a tour of 3 Indian Ocean countries today as he seeks to prevent China from establishing a military foothold in a region his nation has dominated for decades. Modi will visit Seychelles, Mauritius, before ending the trip in Sri Lanka, the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 28 years, and where a January election produced a new government vowing to reduce dependence on China. During the stops, he'll look to expand military as well as economic ties, something that India had avoided until recently. India is starting to bulk up its naval forces to assert control in waters that carry most of the world's oil trade, underscoring its growing discomfort after a Chinese submarine docked twice at a Chinese-built port in Sri Lanka last year. The visits fueled doubts that China's strategy of building ports in the Indian Ocean was not purely economic. Modi's visit to the Indian Ocean reflects the heightened strategic significance of these island states in Indian thinking. India takes great exception to the presence of extra-regional powers in the Indian Ocean, and the reaction of New Delhi to the sub-visits was an indication of that. I spoke about the Indian Ocean in a different context on August 19th, 2013, when I said I have no doubt that the Indian Ocean is set to regain its glory days, and I was looking at it through the prism of the China, US, the pivot to Asia and all of that, and I said I have no doubt that the Indian Ocean is set to regain its glory days. China's and India's, this is an insertion today, dependence on imported crude oil is increasing. And I was talking about how the US's was decreasing. And I said, I think there's a great energy prize. Obviously, it's currently priced incorrectly because of the low energy price structure. But my point remains that the eastern seaboard of Africa from Mozambique through Somalia is the last great energy prize in the 21st century. Therefore, the control of the Indian Ocean, I was saying, becomes kind of decisive. And with control, China can be shut down quite quickly, and obviously India is considering this. I said a sine qua non of President Obama's pivot to Asia is US, NATO, and Indian power projection over the Indian Ocean. I'll put up a photograph of Pemba Island taken from the sky, that's in Mozambique. Another photograph of Maputo, which sits on the southernmost part of the Indian Ocean. And I took that one evening when I was there. Professor Felipe Fernandez Amesto has explained previously that the precocity of the Indian Ocean as a zone of long-range navigation and cultural exchange is one of the glaring facts of history made possible by the reversible escalator of the monsoon. And on that note, I'll put up a photograph I took of Ali the navigator on December the 29th as he navigated us to Asini Island. And I was thinking to myself, no differently, I suspect, to many who navigated themselves on the reversible escalator of the monsoon. The US has declared Venezuela a national security threat, sanctions top officials. The US declared Venezuela a national security threat on Monday and ordered sanctions against 7 officials. In the worst bilateral diplomatic dispute since socialist President Nicolás Maduro took office in 2013. President Obama signed and issued the executive order, which senior administration officials said did not target Venezuela's energy sector or broader economy. Oh, really? But the move stokes tensions between Washington and Caracas, just as US relations with Cuba, a longtime US foe in Latin America and key ally to Venezuela, are set to be normalized. President Maduro denounced the sanctions as an attempt to topple his government. He's not wrong. At the end of a thundering 2-hour speech, Maduro said he would seek decree powers to counter the imperialist threat, and appointed one of the sanctioned officials as the new interior minister. I take you back to the 12th of January when I said that oil warfare specialist President Obama has successfully wrestled crude to below $50, it's right there now, a barrel. And with that effected a chokehold on Vladimir Putin's Russia, Venezuela, I mentioned, and others as far as afield as Nigeria and Angola. I went to Nicolas Maduro's tweet stream and he retweeted Jacqueline PSUV. And I'm not going to say it in Spanish because I never learnt it, but the hashtag is Obama Yankee Go Home. And I conclude by saying, if the 21st century oil warfare specialist Obama takes the oil price down to $20, which it is entirely in his power to do because OPEC is really a spent force, and it is the US who is the geopolitical price setter now, and that he could do that by opening the floodgates to US exports. In that scenario of $20 a barrel, Maduro will be toast in the blink of an eye. I spoke about this when I presented my Mindspeak session, when I was speaking about the world and Africa, Charlie Hebdo, oil warfare, Obama, Vladimir Putin, and I also spoke about the King Dollar. Global research has popped up with testimony that Zbigniew Brzezinski gave in February, late February, and bear in mind he very much has President Obama's ear. I wonder how many people in this room or this very important senatorial committee really anticipated, this is Brzezinski, that one day Putin would land military personnel in Crimea and seize it. I think if anybody said that's what he's going to do, he or she would be labelled as a warmonger. He did it and he got away with it. I think he's also drawing lessons from that, and I'll tell you that what my horror night dream is that one day, I literally mean one day, he just seizes Riga and Tallinn, Latvia and Estonia. It would literally take him one day. There is no way they could resist. And then we will say how horrible, how shocking, how outrageous. But of course we can't do anything about it. It's happened. We aren't going to assemble a fleet in the Baltic and then engage in amphibious landings and then storm ashore, like in Normandy, to take it back. We have to respond in some larger fashion perhaps, but then there will be voices that this will plunge us into a nuclear war. Put up a photograph of Zbigniew Brzezinski. And then I came across this tweet from EGM al-Rai, another IS commander, Wissam Hussein al-Izawi, killed by ISF militia during Tikrit Op in Salahuddin province in Iraq. These are just pawns in the game, and they don't even realize it. Currency markets, Euro 108.1330, touched, fell as deeply as 107.85, which was the lowest in September 2003. I've been saying it for a while, parity calling, and then 0.93. Dollar index above 98, pushing on. Japanese yen 121.73, increasingly looks like it's going to 125. Touched 122.02, a level not reached since July 2007. Swissy 0.9895, pound 150.93. It's been rather strong over the last two sessions. Aussie 0.7644, India rupee 62.775, South Korean won 1121.15. Touched the lowest level since late August 2013. Rial 3.1397, 4 is falling. Egyptian pound 763.09, South African rand when I checked last 1217.09. And you remember my 12 target, which seems so far away when I said it. 29th of September 2014, I spoke of a small window for sharks as dollar rises. The point I'm making is that the dollar has just started going. There will be blood in the water, I said. There is a small window if we want to be the sharks. Stanley Druckenmiller, whom I admire, who with George Soros bet the bank against the Bank of England on September the 16th, 1992, made off with £1 billion in the days when £1 billion was a serious amount of stash, said this: as a macro investor, my job for 30 years was to anticipate changes in the economic trends that were not expected by others and therefore not yet reflected in securities prices. Soros has taught me that when you have tremendous conviction on trade, you have to go for the jugular. It takes courage to be a pig. As far as Soros is concerned, when you're right on something, you can't earn enough. That's a thought. I'll put up that image of the shark. On the 12th of Jan, I said I think the Fed is just one headline print, economic print, away from raising interest rates. And I said then even a rate hike of as small as 0.25% will be the catalyst for a renewed surge in the dollar. The dollar index is headed a lot higher by the dollar. And increasingly the market's coming around to that point of view of mine. And then on the 9th of Feb, I wrote about the king dollar. The way I see it is this: Janet Yellen will hike the rate mid-year, and that is a shoo-in. Furthermore, big headline non-farm payroll print is entirely likely. A number big enough to put the frighteners looks increasingly likely. Then this benign Fed theory, which was then the case in February when people were saying they're not going to hike before the end of the year, will get riddled with bullets. In addition, in the context of the new 21st century oil and currency warfare, and at which the erstwhile community organizer President Obama has proven so breathtakingly proficient, and I was talking, and because Merkel and Hollande are evidently bailing out on the hardcore contain Putin strategy, a rate hike or hikes will be serious shock and awe, and a possible coup de grace, I said. And I took you back to 1997, 1994, when I watched Mexico crumble in front of my eyes after the US hiked rates just a quarter point. I'll put up a 3-month chart of the dollar index. It's going a lot higher. Euro dollar, a little bit of a bounce right now. Got as high as 108.20, but it's very anemic. Put up a 3-month chart. It's obviously headed to parity in 0.93, and I said this on the 12th of Jan. Commodity markets, gold, last time I looked, 1158 and change. I expect a triple-digit print, I'm afraid, in 2015. It's at a 3-month low now. Crude oil, $50.11 when I looked last. I think it's going to break down to fresh 2015 lows. The Guardian has an article of why the Louvre Abu Dhabi is worth celebrating in a very nice photograph, which I'll put up, and then I'll put up 2 photographs that I took when I visited the Louvre in Abu Dhabi. South African all-share fell 1.37% off an all-time high yesterday. It remains up 6.14% year-to-date. Dollar rand is at 13-year lows. The rand is. I'll put up a 6-month chart. This is the softest since 2002. Egyptian pound seems to have stabilized around the 763.08 level. Egyptian stock market up 8.86% year to date. Nigerian all-share is now down just 9.74%. I say that because it's bounced 3,610 points since the 13th of February. The problems remain, however. Ghana Stock Exchange is down 3.62% year to date. The IMF sees Zimbabwe's economy weakening further in 2015 after growing 3.1% in 2014. The government forecasts growth this year 3.2%. Analysts say weak commodity prices, patchy rainfall, company closures, high interest rates will curtail the economy's growth. Growth has slowed down and we expect it to weaken further in 2015. That's Domenico Finizza, the head of an IMF review team. Zimbabwe's foreign debt is $9 billion, makes token monthly payments of $150,000 to clear $125 million in IMF arrears. Fund says the government can only access new finance if it clears the arrears and presents a credible plan to clear outstanding payments to foreign creditors. I'll put up a photograph of Domenico when he said this at a press conference in Kenya. Ups and downs are physiological in a floating exchange rate, said. The Uganda shilling has lost 6.7% against the dollar this year. The Uganda government has asked Parliament to approve an increase of more than 5% in public spending for this financial year, but opponents said it was a campaign ploy to win votes in next year's elections that could weaken the currency. Requesting an additional $270 million, Uganda shilling touched a new record low of around 2,970 on Monday, continuing a slide partly blamed on the global strength of the greenback, but mainly attributed by analysts to concerns over increased state spending before the 2016 presidential and parliamentary elections. This is money to fight Museveni's political enemies and finance his campaigns. The shilling is already plummeting because of this recklessness. This time the economic crisis is starting early. This does not augur well for the currency and interest rates. Sab Miller has built spirits manufacturing facilities in South Sudan, Ethiopia, and Nigeria over the past year, adding to its successful Tanzanian and its small Mozambican spirits units. Africans apparently drink 9 litres of beer per head per year, compared with a global average of 45. Senegal dairy farm bets the farm on cattle that roam. Very interesting story in Reuters if you care to have a look. Demand for milk in Africa is expected to grow sharply in the next decade due to population growth and rising incomes, leading to an increase both in production and import. Coming here to Kenya, under the radar, tea prices have gone up 30% in the last 3 months. A kilogram of tea at the Mombasa auction traded at $2.64 in the latest sale, compared to a 6-year low of $2.04 in December last year. Kenya's shilling, which I like to call the Teflon shilling, at 91.466. Nairobi all-share up 5.39% this year, has corrected 3.289% off a record high reached just last month, 25th of February. NSE 20 up 5.08% year to date, has corrected 128 points since closing at a 7-year high in March 2nd. Turnover soared last week to 6.99 billion shillings from 4.75 billion the previous week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday saw trading over $1 billion shillings each day. I think Wednesday was nearly 2 billion. Trading throttled back yesterday to 640 million. Safaricom announced that there'll be seamless transfer now between Vodacom Tanzania and Safaricom. Nation Media, a little bit of a bounce, but very low volume, 2.17%. It bounced off a 2-year closing low. Barclays Bank has rallied very sharply, up just under 5% since releasing its full-year earnings and increasing its dividend by 42%. Equity Group, they've reported full-year results this morning. I haven't had a chance to go through them. EABL unchanged at 2.99, but they're selling 3-year paper, Kenyan paper, 12.25%, and that's a very handsome rate. Could fly off the shelf. Big news yesterday, Munias limit up yesterday. Trading limit up again today. This is the parkour that the Deputy President laid out, sacking people, changing the board, getting some money in. It seems that the market likes what they heard, and they're going to bounce it back up to about 350, I think. Once again, thank you for stopping by.